Welcome to another installment of the ADP show brought to you by everybody at dynastyleaguefootball.com. With me, Ryan McDowell. I'm Dan Myler. Ryan, how's it going tonight?
It is going well, Dan. Ready to talk some new ADP. We've got
lots of fresh new ADP to talk about. And we've decided to talk about the top 5 players at all 4 positions in the latest DLF ADP, which hasn't even yet posted. So it's one of the benefits, Ryan, of those of you that are listening out there or watching out there. You get the sneak peek at this ADP, right?
Absolutely. Not on the site yet. It's getting close. Of the 6 mocks, I think we have a couple of them done. So I would say it will be on the site, hopefully by the end of the week. But yeah, absolutely. A little sneak peek at what's to come.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk top 5 at all 4 positions, and we might as well start under center with the quarterbacks. It starts with a couple real familiar names that were really all 5 are real familiar names that we pretty much expect. Of course, it starts with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, no surprise there. Those two have been flip-flopping a little bit. Jackson was the QB1 at one point in our monthly ADP, but this time it's Mahomes. 19 overall is his June ADP. Jackson right behind him at 21. And then we see that big gap. That won't be a surprise to anyone either. A little bit, though, maybe of a surprise who the QB3 is. It's Kyler Murray at 54 overall, Dak Prescott at 60, and Deshaun Watson at 65.
Talk to me a little bit about Murray being that third quarterback. I know you're a fan of Murray and a fan of investing in the young quarterback in Arizona. Tell me a little bit about his rise to that number 3 spot and really if he belongs that high.
Yeah, so we saw in our ADP, we saw Murray cracking that top 5. I think he was even up to quarterback 4. But it felt like the top 3 of Mahomes, Jackson, and Deshaun Watson were pretty locked in. And, of course, that changed with the trade of DeAndre Hopkins going from the top weapon for Deshaun Watson in Houston and, of course, moving out to Arizona. And that boosted Kyler Murray's value. It hurt Deshaun Watson's value all in one move. So, basically, those two flip-flopped. The surprise for me comes with Dak Prescott. It really feels like there's been a lot of hype around him this offseason, and deservedly so. He's never been outside of that QB1 range in fantasy production in his career, and now he's got a brand new weapon in CeeDee Lamb. So he's up to quarterback 4. I certainly would not be surprised if we see Dak moving into that QB3 spot at some point soon.
Yeah, there's going to be some movement most likely, but it's all going to happen in those 3 spots, 3, 4, and 5. It's doubtful that it's at 1 and 2, unless those two continue to flip-flop, as you mentioned they have done. Let's go to their backfield mates, the running backs. Top 5 at the running back position, Ryan, and really 5 of the top 6 drafted in ADP.
Yeah, this is definitely the age of the running back again. We saw it years ago, and it's back. I've mentioned on Twitter, I won't be surprised if we start seeing dynasty startups with the full first round being those running backs. So that didn't quite happen yet, though. We've got Christian McCaffrey at the top. He's the number 1 overall player. Saquon Barkley close behind him. So just like the quarterbacks, those top 2 are firmly locked in. 3 overall, and the running back 3 is Ezekiel Elliott. The 4th running back is Alvin Kamara. And then the 5th one is of course, the most interesting based on recent news, and that is Dalvin Cook. He's the RB5 and 6 overall, but he is certainly in store for a drop in value.
Yeah, and the news you mentioned is Cook telling pretty much everybody out there, anybody that wants to listen, that he's looking for that new contract. How do we see this playing out, Ryan? And how should dynasty owners really be reacting?
Well, I don't think it's going to go well for Dalvin Cook. I mean, we saw Christian McCaffrey get the big contract, but he has set himself apart from really the rest of the league and the rest of the running backs around the league. So I don't see that huge payday coming for Cook or for Joe Mixon, both of those guys, Alvin Kamara, all of those guys could be looking for that. And there's been speculation that they could hold out. And of course, Cook is just the first one to really go through with it. So, I mean, it comes down to really how stubborn he wants to be. We saw it not go very well for Melvin Gordon last year. He did miss time. Austin Eckler took advantage of that. I think we could see the same thing happen with Alexander Mattison in Minnesota. Now, that being said, this is not the time to buy Alexander Mattison. That was 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago. You should have been doing that already because Dalvin Cook is always a concern or a worry, I guess, to suffer an injury as he has multiple times in his career. So now is not the time to buy Mattison, and now is not the time to sell Cook. I would, if anything, I would be flip-flopping those. See what you could get for Alexander Mattison if you don't have Dalvin Cook, I should say, and be buying on the panic of Dalvin Cook holding out.
Yeah, we don't want to hit the panic button for sure with Cook, but might create a buying window and a pretty nice one for Cook if the Cook owner in your league is hitting that panic button. Let's go out wide to the receivers, Ryan, because there's that group of five are the kind of guys that we like to build our receiving core around, and it starts with Michael Thomas, who's the only non-running back to crack that top five overall.
That's right. Michael Thomas showing up at 4 overall. He's the wide receiver 1. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins. He's switching teams. Dynasty owners don't seem too concerned about that. He's still the wide receiver 2 and 7 overall. Tyreek Hill coming in at 9 overall as a first rounder. Devontae Adams close behind him at 11. So we've got 4 wide receivers in the first round. And then the wide receiver 5 comes in the second round in Chris Godwin.
Yeah, Chris Godwin is the 5th receiver, and it's followed up by a slew of wide receivers after that, of course. But we're focusing, Ryan, on these top 5. What stands out in this group of 5 to you at wide receiver?
Honestly, it is some of the players that come after this group, outside of this group of 5, because some of the names we didn't mention, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., DJ Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kenny Golladay. I'm sure I'm leaving a few out even. There's just such depth at the top of the wide receiver position right now. We talked about the wide receiver, the running back boom that we're currently seeing, and this is part of the reason. Why spend a first-round pick on DeAndre Hopkins when you can spend a third-rounder on Amari Cooper or Juju Smith-Schuster? It just doesn't make sense.
Right, and that's probably going to be part of that contributing factor that keeps pushing those running backs up and maybe pulling those wide receivers down at the same time, Ryan. Let's talk about the tight ends last but not least, of course, especially those of us that like these tight end premium leagues. We're interested for sure. There's one tight end that cracks the top 2 rounds of overall ADP, Ryan.
Yeah, we're actually seeing tight end value drop a little bit. It's Kittle and Kelsey at the top. So we talked about it with the quarterback position. We talked about it at running back as well. The top 2 in that clear top tier. So Kittle at 18 overall, George Kittle, Travis Kelsey at 26 overall. We're seeing him fall. And actually, I'm surprised at the gap between Travis Kelsey and the tight end 3, Mark Andrews, who falls all the way down to 45 overall. That would be, given their ages, that would be a move I would be trying to make. Swap Travis Kelsey for Mark Andrews, get a little something on top of that, and buy a bunch of years back at the tight end position. So Andrews is tight end 3, Evan Ingram tight end 4, another big gap. He's down at 63. And Zach Ertz close behind him at 66 overall and the tight end 5.
Ingram is an interesting one, Ryan, because a lot of us as Dynasty owners have been excited about that upside, and he just hasn't shown it on the field. You mentioned these tight ends slipping. He's still hanging in there in those top 5, but slipping in the overall ADP, there's still reason for optimism with Ingram, right?
I think there's certainly reason for optimism, but there's this might be the last chance. We were so excited for that group of tight ends. He comes into the league with O.J. Howard and David Njoku. The three of those at one point, really at multiple points throughout the past couple of years, all three of those could be found in the top 5 Dynasty tight ends in both ADP and rankings. And of course, we know that both Howard and Njoku have fallen off over the past year, and Ingram keeps getting a pass for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, he's hanging in there at tight end 4. He's got to produce this year and produce at a high level to maintain that value, though.
Yeah, it's raw upside that's keeping him up there, and he's shown enough of those spurts of talent on the field and production for Dynasty owners to keep him in the top 5. But as you said, it is probably the last opportunity. Ryan, there's a lot going on over at dynastyleaguefootball.com. Tell me a little bit about what you love so much about DLF.
Yeah, what I'm loving most right now is a brand new feature we have called myDLF. We introduced our trade analyzer months ago. It's been a huge hit. Really has become probably our most popular feature at DLF. And we've made it even better. Now you can sync up your My Fantasy League Dynasty leagues, those leagues hosted on MFL, sync that up to our trade calculator, and you can see your actual roster. You can see the roster of every other team. It will pop up and show you the current trade analyzer value, which of course comes from ADP, comes from our rankings, and it comes from actual Dynasty trades that are being made out there in leagues. So it will show you the value. It will basically create the trades for you, which is a feature I love. I know I've already gotten a couple trades done in leagues just from using that and kind of sparking some ideas.
Yeah, it's an exciting time over at dynastyleaguefootball.com. If you're not a subscriber already, come check us out. Lots of content hitting the site every day. Ryan mentioned the rankings, the ADP that we talked about here as well, and just so many features on all these rookies that we're all so excited about, and really every player in the league. Lots of tools that can help you dominate your Dynasty League. For Ryan, I'm Dan. Thanks for watching this episode of the ADP Show. We'll catch you again next week.